Let's bring in Rudy Rochman. He is a reservist for the Israeli Defense Forces and joins us now. Rudy, give us the latest on the ground.
Yeah, so as a reservist, I'm 30 years old. Most of my crew are 30, 40-year-olds. You know, we have families, we have kids, we have our lives, and all of a sudden we're taken out of our civilian life to have to defend our country. On Saturday morning, we were called up and our entire unit were deployed to Kfar Aza. It's one of the villages that saw some of the most gruesome massacres that happened. Children, women, elderly, just horrible scenes. We made sure to get out all the terrorists to secure the land and to make sure that we can actually live in this country.
Describe the fighting that you've seen so far.
I mean, the fighting is horrible, but I think what we really need to talk about also is that people need to understand this is not a left-wing or a right-wing issue. This is a human rights issue, and everyone needs to understand that. You were talking about earlier on your show how the younger generation is starting to, look down on Israel and think that Israel is illegitimate. Well, there's been a strategy of trying to find every single minority group on intellectual spaces, especially on college campuses, and convincing them that the source of the problem is Israel. They go to Black Students Union and they convince them that the reason for why there's black problems with the police is because of Israel's training. They go to Native American groups and say, well, white colonialists came and stole land, and they try to pretend that Jews are white, which we're not. We're indigenous to Israel, and we stole land. And they've been convincing the younger generation that the source of all problems in the world is the Jewish people. And this is historically how anti-Semitism has happened, and we need to start waking up to it. The fighting is horrible, but there's two wars going on. There's the physical war, which we will prevail, and we will come out of. And I really hope that we minimize casualties on all sides, for Palestinians and Israelis. No one here wants to see anybody dead, but we need to understand that not just what is happening, why it is happening. Hamas knows it's not going to win the war. It's trying to win a PR war. It's intentionally placing its citizens in places where they're shooting rockets out of in order for Israel to defend itself and for casualties to go up. Hamas wants to increase casualties both for Israelis and for Palestinians in order to win a PR war, and we need to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, Rudy, there are some U.S. lawmakers who are calling for a ceasefire for the greater good of both sides. If they were to say that to you, what would your response be?
Of course we want a ceasefire. We don't want to see anybody dying, but we need to go back and take 150 and more kidnapped Israeli citizens and others that were already there for years that have been kidnapped. And we need to take out Hamas, not just for the safety of Israelis, but to free Palestinians. Hamas is on its almost 20th year of its 4-year term that is completely occupying the land, oppressing its people. And all these politicians that, like, for example, the Squad that talk about as if they champion Palestinian rights. Where were you when Palestinians were dying by the thousands in the Syrian civil war? Where are you when you talk about the Palestinians that are by the hundreds of thousands of refugee camps in Lebanon and in Jordan, or suffering on the border of Gaza and Egypt, or under the Palestinian Authority or Hamas, where they don't have the freedom of speech? If you truly care about Palestinians, you need to free them, which is why we need to not only talk about the what. Casualties are horrible and they should be ended on all sides, Palestinians and Israelis, which are cousins, but we need to understand why this is happening as well.
Rudy, are you worried about a multi-front war with Lebanon and Hezbollah getting involved?
Of course we're worried. My family lives here. This is my country. This is my land. This is where my kids will be born. This is where I need to live. So, of course we're worried for war. I know that no matter what will happen, we will prevail, and I hope that we can prevent that from happening. And if we don't, we need to go to war, and we need to win. And when the smoke settles, we need to make sure to prevent this from happening in the future.
Rudy, thank you so much for joining us this morning. God bless.
Amazing perspective.
Thank you.
14 Americans have been killed in